If you define success as having a lot of money, the people who are the most successful don't care about what's in their bank account. They love the work, right? They love the job. They love what they're doing.
The hustle.
The hustle.
Right.
They love that. The money is a byproduct.
On this episode of A Call to Leadership, I've invited two of my co-hosts, Sam and Travis, on this Business Monday to accompany me on a two-part series on success. We're going to really dive deep and dispel some myths on what success might look like when it comes to chasing shiny objects. But the reality is that there's grit, there's real trial, there's real triumph, and there is real gain that's not even reflected in our bank accounts. I can't wait for you to join us. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership.
All three of us sitting here, we've had money, we haven't had money, right? We've had money, we haven't had money, right? We've all gone through those periods in our life. But I don't think we would define ourselves as being successful or unsuccessful based on what was in our bank account. We would look at more where we are at our business cycle, right? Like, I'm growing right now, I'm investing in my company. It's a struggle, but we always talk about, like, those are the times, like, you look back on and you're like, that was awesome.
That was when I was living.
That's when I was the sharpest.
That's when it was the best.
That's when the knife was sharpened.
Yeah. It sucked when you were going through it. You know what I mean? But like, when you look back on it, you don't, like, I don't look back and say, oh, the time when I was the most comfortable was the best time, right? It's like the time when we were slugging it out in a mall at 8 o'clock at night, or it's the last day of the quarter and we're all on the phone saying, where can we find some extra sales? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here?
Agree.
So I had a recent crisis, and it was, and I think I talked a little bit about on the call, but you know, I was like, what's all this stuff going on? I don't know. A lot of unknowns, a lot of money, a lot of this, a lot of that. Instead of like breathing heavy, I was like, oh, thank God. I'm like, this is that moment where that knife is going to start being sharpened again that I've been talking about. And I'm like, I'm actually glad it's going on. I'm actually welcoming it. I'm loving this. So on one hand, like, you're like, no, but I think your perspective changed as you get older, as you become more successful and you do less, you know, there's less on the line when you do stuff. You know, you lose an edge. But I think that when you have like a crisis, that someone used to say struggle muscles kick in, you know, from like back in the day, and you're like, oh, I got this. And actually you welcome it. Like I was talking to someone who is very successful, and I kind of share the same perspective on like failure. No one wants to fail, right? That's just like that's like we all say. But you get to a point when something fails, you're like, I'm glad that happened. I'm actually welcoming that failure because I'm going to fix it and I'm going to move a different direction.
Yep.
Right. Well, I think also part of failure means that you invested in the possibility.
Yeah.
And so like, you know that, okay, this didn't work out this way, but now I know that I can try a different route. And so like almost there's like a liberation in failure. It's comfort in some ways. And then another part of it is if I gave it my all, I didn't leave anything on the table. There's nothing I got to worry about that. Like, I'm like, what if I wouldn't have? And then another thing is that it's not final, it's feedback. Yeah. Like I totally look at failure as like, okay, playbook. I added just something to my playbook that I didn't have before.
That's a t-shirt, Nate.
We got to put on a great summer t-shirt for sure.
That's a t-shirt.
You said something though, I wanted to comment on that about like in the moment. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking about like back in the Clear days and when we had 87 days left of being able to sell Clearwire before it went corporate. And I remember the push was just insanely energizing. And like, if I think about like the best time of my life in business, also where it's like I was on the verge of bankruptcy, was like that moment, you know?
Because you're just doing it.
You have to do this.
You have to do it. Like your back is against the wall. There's no other options. And so you just funnel all of your focus and energy into it.
We just can't fail. That was it. It was that simple.
Fail.
I remember having that conversation.
Hey, like you just keep
like we can't fail. Like why would we? Like that's not even like an option.
Yeah,
like just do it.
We increased overhead. We brought on more expensive people. And we're like, we're gonna fix all this. I'm gonna
partner you with these guys in Vegas. I'm like, Vegas, like, you know,
oh my God, is
like
it the mob?
Gangsters or whatever. He's like, don't worry about it. You know, we're gonna get you up to that top tier. I mean, all the pieces like had to perfectly match to make this work, and it was just I was alive.
Yeah, we were alive.
And when you go on vacation and I sit on a beach and it's nice, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
So it's like, even with like, success, like, it's just not enough.
Mm-mm.
It's not enough to get to a pinnacle and say, okay, I've made it. Because to me, that's actually like not where I want to be. Like, I don't want to be to where I'm comfortable and I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. I've got whatever it is that I thought was success. No, I want to feel that way again.
Yeah. Well, I think, and this is like a little bit too out there, right? But I think the universe, right? It's funny because it's like when you start making deals, right? Like deals happen, right? Like they just somehow they happen, right? You kind of get in this flow, you're aligned, whatever's going on, and just things happen. But I don't know, making deals happen, right? It's a drug. It's an adrenaline rush, right? Like all that is an adrenaline rush,
Right, you hit the endorphins are kicking in, dopamine.
Right? Like, and you're just like, oh, I want this. And so I think that's why you get like some people who are like at Elon Musk, right? Like richest man in the world, richest man in the history.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
Not about the money. He works 70 hours a week.
The people who are the most successful people when it comes to, if you define success as having a lot of money, the people who are the most successful don't care about what's in their bank account. They love the work, right? They love the job. They love what they're doing.
The hustle.
Right. They love that. The money is a byproduct, right? And so with these people who are just trying to sell flash and cash and, live this great lifestyle, like one, you can't appreciate it if you don't actually work for it, right? Like I read something, somebody told me, I don't know, this is, something online, but it was talking about the most miserable people in the world are like these Saudi princes who literally can buy whatever they want, but nothing means anything to them because they can buy whatever they want. And they don't know, you know what I mean? Like there's no value. And so they have all these like mental issues that you don't hear about because they're so depressed because they've never had the feeling of like working for something, right? Like earning something, or like they can go buy whatever they want. It doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter. Money isn't there, and they've never had that other side of it. And so the people that just sell cash, and live this lifestyle, and this lifestyle is great. Like it's not about the lifestyle. It's about what you did to get there, right? How hard did you work to get there? What did you overcome to get there? What did you learn about yourself to get there? What have you done for society to get there? You know what I mean? Like, and I really truly believe like if you do everything the right way and you invest in your people, you invest in your business, you do it the right way, not only will you be successful, but you're going to be happy even if you don't have the cash, right? Like that's the secret. You know what I mean? Like it's not the cash that brings you happiness. It's all the work and toil and everything you did to reach that pinnacle that gives you that happiness.
Yeah. You can't value something that's given to you.
How can I value something that's just given to me?
There's so much potential for this life. And you touched on something that I thought was really important because, we associate burnout with a lack of perceived progress. So like that's when people start to burn out, is when they say, well, there's no more progress. And so like you talk about these Saudi princes, like they're literally burning out on life because there's no more progress for them in their world. And I think partly because the association has been with wealth, material wealth. And I don't know, I don't know all the details on it, but you wonder just how much that like sucks the life out of you and how much that speaks to our infatuation with money, right? Because we think, when I have this much money, all my problems are solved. Okay, let's just use real numbers. Like, okay, if I have $30,000 a year job, when I get to that $100,000, I'm going to be so much happier. And then you get to the $100,000, and then it's like, well, when I get to that $250,000, that's going to solve all my problems, man. Everything's going to be great. Then you get there like, okay, I have a lot of the same problems. Maybe I don't have the same financial challenges, right? Ironically, most people who reach a certain level just increase their cost of living anyway, right?
Yep.
Nicer stuff, nicer vacations, nicer all this other stuff. But the shiny things, chasing the shiny things for the purpose of that shiny thing, I think you're right, man. I think at the end of the rainbow, I think that the gold, the gold coins that are in the rainbow won't be satisfying. I just don't see them as satisfying.
So I know there is a study that's out there that measures happiness with wealth, and I don't know the exact number. It's like $60,000 or $70,000. There's no measurable increase in happiness once you make $70,000, right? Like you're just as happy at 70 as 700 because again, you buy more things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
which
you're
have less value.
Which have less value, you know? And then so the things you're chasing. And I think it's important to always have something that's motivating you, right? And if money motivates you,
great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right? Like cool. Just don't focus on money, right? Focus on what are the byproducts. What is it? So if I want a lot of money, what do I need to do to get money, right? Like, okay, I need to do 10 calls a day, right? Whatever it is, right? Whatever your product and whatever your process is, you just can't focus on money. It can be a motivator, but it can't be the thing that you think is going to bring you happiness because you're never going to be satisfied. What wins enough is enough. If Elon Musk has proven that $238 billion, right? He's still working 80 hours a week and living in a factory. If that's not, I mean, he doesn't have happy relationships. You know what I mean? I mean, the dude's life is really a mess. You know, like when you look at it, like he's a mess, right? Like
kids and everything.
Kids everywhere, different moms. You know what I mean?
That's a sacrifice. But that's the thing. Like there's, you know, by being that successful, you sacrifice, you know,
100%.
Things other places.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'd sacrifice all the finances in the world for my family to be happy. So I think that's, you know, when you're so, and who was Steve Jobs, same way, right? He said I would not be known as I'm gonna ad lib him, but he said I wouldn't be called a great father.
His biographers, official biographer said Steve Jobs would not have won Father of the Year award.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So,
and he was being generous
and gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy changed, you know, 3 to 4
6
large industries
really.
that we deal with every day and transformed how we do everything.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a happy medium in, you know, balancing, you know, which obviously balances perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could say, I have work-life balance. Like, okay, man, like sure you do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. You're probably okay with where it's at, maybe, but it's all perception, you know? But you know, Puff Daddy said it, more money, more problems.
Right? No.
Well, doesn't that, I mean, a lot of people get into business because they want wealth, right? Yeah. I mean, I did when I was 21 years old.
Yeah. 20s.
I dropped out of college. I'm like, I'm going to be rich. And it didn't happen so easily. Right. But that's like see what I think is like disturbing to me is that those of us who have been in the trenches know that if we sell that shiny object to the new entrepreneur or the budding entrepreneur, that we're really doing a disservice.
100%. I
mean, that's ultimately what it is. It's like, come on, guys.
That's the easy sale.
It's an easy sale. Like, easy sale. I mean, it's so easy. You just sell, you know, if you just sell, hey, look, I'm going to help you get rich. That's the easy sale. And to me, it's almost like snake oil.
It is exactly what it is.
Yeah, but if you've never had wealth, it sounds pretty appealing. That's the other side of it.
Yeah.
If you're struggling,
it's the easy sale, right?
Yeah, but you also have to be, you know,
because I was there, we were all there. We were all there, and we would have bought the program. In fact, I don't know how many programs I did buy back when they were all on tape, right? Yeah. You know, this plan for real estate wealth and all this other stuff, and it's like, oh, it's all about the money. And then I realized this is number one, harder than they make it out to be. 2, I'm only focusing on me. Like I'm focusing on what I want, and what's missing is actually investing in people and like what they want. Like I've flipped a script. It's like, you know, forget about that. Like you said, it's a byproduct. If you can get your systems in order and why you actually are valuable in the marketplace, whatever it is, your product or your service, all that's going to come.
Yep.
It'll come.
Money. Yeah. I mean, money is a byproduct. That's why, you know, bettering yourself and working on personal development and health and all the different aspects of life, you know, all have a direct correlation in, you know, your results. I believe that wholeheartedly. So I think that, you know, money is always that thing that catches your interest at an early age, especially because we're all pretty superficial, I think, when we're young in our 20s. You know, we want to pull up to, you know, back in our day, I guess, pull up in the mall with a nice car, pull up and everything's changed now, but I don't know what's cool now, but back then that, the nice shoes, the nice glasses,
cool NFT.
You look like you did something. Yeah. You look like you did something. So, but I think that eventually you learn that that's all just very superficial and becomes less of an importance.
Yeah.
Well, and you realize that business is a grind. It's a grind. I mean, with a capital, all 5 letters.
Yeah. I told someone one time, I said, they're like, I want to open a business and and I was like, that's great. And I'm like, he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, have you ever been like punched in the face? He's like, what? I said, literally, have you ever been like punched in the face, broke your nose, lost a tooth, like eyes watering? Like, no, probably doesn't feel very good. I said, well, that's what it's like owning a business. So make sure that, right. If you're looking for comfort, it's not the place to go right away. Like eventually you could get there, but what you think the image is and what it actually is, let me tell you, is totally different things, and
a lot of people see business owners on Saturday nights at the clubs, right? Like that's, you got a business, but you don't see that guy Monday through Friday and Saturday morning and what his life really looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think people question actually owning a business probably through the process. I'm like, why did I do this? I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
I'm putting stress on my family. I have all these issues. I don't know where my money's coming from. I have all this debt. It's piling up. Why'd I do this? Why just get a job and make money? But then again, that's at that split second that lasts. You wake up the next day motivated to run your business no matter how bad it is, and that's just, I think, just shows the spirit of an entrepreneur. That's why not everybody's cut out for it. No. You know what I mean?
No, it is. In fact, I had a client, of course, in my business, I see it all, right? I see every business owner's plights and all that and everything in between. I had one who went from corporate to their own business and then exited the business. Didn't fail, but pounded out 5 years and was like, okay, I'm going to go back into corporate America. I'm going to sell the business. I saw that client recently and I was like, would you go back? He said, I don't know if I'll go back, but it was the best time of my life. I'll never forget it. I'll never. And so, and you have to make that decision. Now, I think you come to a certain point in entrepreneurship. It's like a point of no return, I think, for many of us, not all of us, but there's some of us that are like, I will never go back.
Right.
I will always find a way to build something and make it of value in the marketplace.
Well, and I also think I think it's challenging corporate America, right? Like if I'm in corporate America and I'm interviewing somebody who's been an entrepreneur for 10 plus years, right? Like, first of all, how do you even update your resume? You know what I mean? Like, how do you encapsulate, if you've been running a business for 10 years, successful, unsuccessful, like how do you encapsulate everything that you've done over those past 10 years, right? Like it's impossible.
Most people, I mean,
right?
I don't
you
know,
can't like state your roles and responsibilities.
Here's my roles.
I was in charge of the ERP system and all this other stuff. Right?
I mean,
I've done it. So I know how it's like to fail miserably.
Correct.
And then go back and have to get a job
but
and then start over again.
20-something years old.
Yeah. I mean, it was Blockbuster.
Right. So
dang, that takes really back. Is we that
I'm
old?
talking about like, let's say like one of us decides, you know what, I want to go get that corporate job. You know what I mean? So we sit down. I don't know how to, I'm good at writing resumes, but I have no idea how to encapsulate everything I've done. Then I put myself in the interviewer's perspective, right? Like, you're interviewing somebody who's done well, done poorly, whatever, for 10 years, but survived, right? Am I really going to take a chance that this feral, wild, right, person, because you're feral, you know what I mean? Like if you've been running your own business for more than 5 years, you are feral, you know, you're a wild animal. Am I really going to take a chance on this person to come into my organization, or am I going to take the chance on somebody who's, just clocked in and worked their way up?
It's like that wild stallion. You got to, so I got to break this stallion.
I got to break him?
Yeah, but even the stallion comes in and says, I'm easily broken. You're like,
But you've always know, like you always know that person could have 1 foot out because they can do it on their own.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
So
Who knows they're not coming in so that they can get more data on how to go out and do it on their own.
So I know, and I'm sure it happens. I'm sure people, I'm sure they go and open a business. doesn't go the way they want, they go get it. I'm sure it happens, but most people that I have talked to and have experienced for less money will continue to struggle as an entrepreneur than go back to work for somebody. Because once 100%. Even that one like day that you need to go pick up your kids from the bus stop and you're able to do that, like that comfort in knowing like you have that ability, even if you're making 25% of what you made before.
Yeah.
But like that freedom,
yep.
Like it's almost like going back to jail.
100%.
100%. That's how I kind of look at it. Now, not all jobs are like that because obviously I know a lot of people, especially these days, unreal flexibility at work.
We're in a weird time.
But like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how long that lasts. But at the end of the day, like, you know, back in the day, like our parents and like us growing up in the kind of the corporate setting, like wasn't like that.
There is no way. I mean, Laura and I have talked about it, right? There is no way that if I had to, right, I mean, I would do anything. However,
I know where you're going with this.
To the thought of getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, showering, getting dressed, out the door by 7 to sit in traffic for 45 minutes or an hour to go to an office and sit there till 5 o'clock in the evening, that is my personal hell.
And report metrics to your VP.
That is my personal hell.
People don't understand it.
Like
it's
that
a perspective.
Sounds absolutely horrible. You know what I mean? Like you could pay me $500,000 a year. Great. Money's good. I'm going to be miserable.
Because you've experienced the other side. You took the blue pill.
I took the blue pill.
You're like the Matrix. So once you can't go back.
It's actually the red pill.
The red pill.
Yeah. It's been 20 plus years since you took that pill. So if you forget what color it was.
If I can find a way to scrape together 10 grand a month, you know what I mean?
So people are going to hear that. And I'm going to tell you, people who have never owned a business are going to be like, well, I do that every day and 100%. I'm just loving my life. Yeah. But those who are listening, the reason is because until you've experienced owning your own business, failing, succeeding, the process, the time, the growth, the change of your personality, like until you've experienced that and go back, it's impossible.
It's like
in my
trying to
opinion,
explain to
it's
somebody what parenthood is like. You can't describe
That's a good example.
Parenthood, right? Because from the outside, people who don't have kids are like, oh God, it looks terrible. Like, look at all the time. Look at all the money.
Exactly.
You can't do this.
Snotty
like,
kids
I
and all
can
that
do
other
all
stuff,
this
right?
stuff. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, you can, but you can't appreciate the joy of being a parent, right? Like all the cool things that happen and all that kind of stuff. It's like explaining that to them. I use my little brother. Love him to death.
Yeah.
Right. But he's a corporate guy.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's going to do well because he's that guy.
Well. He does well. He has a good life. You know what I mean? Like, and he thinks he's happy. You put me in that scenario,
you're miserable.
I'm a caged animal looking to get out.
Yeah.
And I still think companies only pay people just enough for you not to quit.
Agreed. I mean,
Like,
you were in
it's
corporate
just
America.
enough.
I mean, we've all been in those positions where, and it's a safe play too for a company. And I'm glad you brought your brother up because there's a lot of people who don't not only want to be entrepreneurs, but aren't built for the entrepreneurial life. I mean, it is a different kind of animal. Or they've
seen it. And they're like, I want nothing to do with those.
And I think that's my brother, right? He watched my parents, right? He watched my dad. He saw it. He's like, nope.
There is ripple effects to failure that people see. Oh my God, he went through this. You know, he lost that. It was such a terrible time. It was nasty. I would never want to risk that. I've had people tell me that before. And I'm like, I get it. Like, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
The process is not pretty, although that's the story.
Yeah.
That's what makes the story so great. You know,
here's the thing. Would you tell, and I know yours, right? I know your answer to this. Would you want your kids to have their own business, or would you want them? Say you're talking to Amina, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's starting to figure out, right? Because she's 12, 13 now,
11,
11, yeah. So she's gonna be at that age soon, right? Like, what do you want to do? Thinking about colleges and stuff like that. Would you want her to be an entrepreneur, or would you want her to be a doctor, lawyer, a professional? That's an interesting, and actually I like that question because it's some would probably say, well, of course you'd want your daughter to be a doctor. No, I would like her to be an entrepreneur. I'm exposing them in bits, in pieces. Now, if they do, they may wake up and say, I want nothing to do with that. Yeah. That's great, and I support that. But
yeah, I mean, if you're asking Dad, you know, what he would like, yeah, I would be okay with them failing, and I would be okay with them trying out different businesses, and kind of like the Abrams story. I think that's pretty cool how you're doing that with your son. And like Leif tells me every day, like, his eBay business, he wants to sell, but we do sports memorabilia, sports cards. Like, I want to sell these cards, and I want to make, he's motivated. Like, he wants to make money, right? I think he probably has more of he has that kind of little bit of entrepreneur in him that I kind of see different, things. I think Amina may be a little bit more like Becky, probably, where she's going to be some sort of professional, if I was to guess.
Yeah.
But even now, I mean, your wife's embarking on entrepreneurship.
So now my wife's an entrepreneur.
And that's the thing, right? Like,
it's a transition, and it wouldn't happen without you.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, just call it out.
That's true.
And it's not a bad thing, but yeah, I don't see Becky, right? If she wouldn't have been married to you, if she would be married to somebody like my brother, right? Like, just corporate guy. Becky probably be corporate.
I obviously supported that in a way that's obviously she supported me through my crazy entrepreneurial life. So yeah, I mean, why would it? And plus, I know the benefits of it eventually, at some point, not in the beginning, but in the, she's not in a position where she has to like go into a business and make X amount of money right now.
She doesn't have to make a living.
Right.
Yeah.
So that makes her process, although great, and she's going to value it, which I'm glad, obviously that's what we all kind of work for. But she's, for her, it's like, it's different than me. Right. So for her, it's a very time quality of life approach. Like she likes to be able to just set her appointments. I want this many this week. I want to be off this week. Like, I want to be able to do this with the kids this week. And that's what I want for her, Yeah. So,
I mean, that's really the best of both worlds.
Right. At the end of the day, and plus you make more money out on your own anyway. So she could work less, make more, and have a better quality, which is every entrepreneur's goal.
Yep.
And she has a mentor in you.
Yeah.
She's seen you do it. And it can be, I think, I've seen it to be, it's contagious when the conditions are right.
Yep.
Right. For the individual. I've had several people, we talked about this before in another episode. I've had several people in my office embark on entrepreneurship because it was contagious, because they were built for it. And that's fine. I applaud them. There are others in my organization would never, ever leave the nest, right? They're just, and that's not their thing. They're like, you know what, Nate? You run the business, you be the rainmaker, we'll make sure all the work gets done. And we love that life. And we need both sides.
Oh, you have to.
This isn't about everybody,
that
doesn't do entrepreneurship is missing out on something. Not at all.
Not at all. Not at
all. You might be missing out on, like having a stroke.
Correct.
Because you're just not.
Bankruptcies, whatever it may be.
Whatever you can't handle.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever you don't find joy in your life.
Correct. Because I think everybody can do whatever they want. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you've got the skill set for it. But it's what makes you happy. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people who they need the consistency. They need, here's what my job is. You know what I mean? Like, it's very defined. And our jobs are not. Right?
No.
They're not.
Which brings us back to, I think, the shiny object piece, right? Because the shiny object, though it is a draw, there's reality. Like, you know what? Don't just sell the shiny object. Sell me the reality of it.
Yeah.
Right? And say, look, it's not going to be easy. It's some aspects of it will be simple. Some of it will be complicated. But if you find the right people around you and you actually provide goods and services that have tremendous market value innovatively, right? And stay in the grind, there's a possibility. But honestly, let's talk about the odds. Odds are against you.
Against you.
Right?
Correct.
That you're going to be successful first shot out. It's just, look, how many people, right? Bat 1,000. How many babies, we're talking about families, right? Walk their first time after standing up? Zero.
I mean, if you can hit 3 out of 10 baseballs, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in the Hall of Fame, but you failed
absolutely.
70% of the time.
Yeah.
Like, you have failed 70% of the time, and you are in the Hall of Fame. So that's an elite athlete.
So right? we say something in when the kids are doing, their drills in hockey. we'll do these do edge work and skating drills and things like that. And if the kids are falling, we know they're trying.
Yeah.
If you're not falling,
interesting,
you're not trying.
Interesting.
So the kids that
can't find your edge,
they don't push themselves to the point where they feel uncomfortable, which the drill is uncomfortable, and the kids that are really trying to do it right will fall. If you open a business or become an entrepreneur, you will fall if you're really trying.
Yeah. I love that. In fact, it reminds me of a story. I don't know if I told you guys this story, but Abram would fall a lot when he was little, and he would just cry like most kids do.
Right.
And I just felt so bad for him. I mean, because he was trying to run, he was trying to do all this stuff, and he'd take some hits. And I started telling him, he would be crying, and I'd hold him and I'd say, son, every fall you get up from is a good fall.
Yep.
And he'd like, Dad, why are you patronizing me? He wouldn't say that because there's a big word, but something along those lines. I'm like, no, son, it's not just physical. It's spiritual. It's emotional. It's mental. Get up from the fall.